Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shuchau deshe pratisthaya sthiramasanamatmanah natyushchitam nati nicham chailajinakushottaram tatraikagram manah kritva yatachittendriyakriyah upavishyasane yunjat yogamatmavishuddhaye samam kayashiro grivam dharayannachalam sthiraha samprekshya nasikagram swam dishaschanavalokayan prashantatma vigatabhihi brahmacharivrate sthitaha manah संयम्यमच्चित्तः yokta asita matparaha yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasah shantim nirvana paramam matstham sthamadhigacchati natyashnatastu yogosti na chaikantamanashnatah na chati swapnashilasya jagrato chaiva charjuna yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshthasya karmasu yuktasvapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha yada viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatisthate nispruha sarvakamebhyah yukta ityuchyate tada yatha deepo nivatasthaha nengate sopama smruta yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanah yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati. Hari Om. Namaskaram to everyone. The last we did was the 16th verse, where we learned, he said, verily yoga is not for him who eats too much or does not eat at all, for him who sleeps too much or is awake. Now, what we learned, we said that we need to learn to proportion the gunas based on the expression of gunas during the course of the day. We said we must try to come to the optimum level of each guna. Sattva, perhaps we should try to be active up to 8 hours of sattva. Sattva means any study of the Shastras, reflection, contemplation. You could be involved in performance of any minor rituals. For example, you're doing puja or any karikram like that, any activity of that, sitting in meditation, all of that put together, you capitalize up to 8 hours in a day. And any study should not be more than an hour and a half, which begins at 4 a.m. in the morning, right to till the end of the day. Try to spread out these 8 hours of sattvic activity. Now, and then we said we have to be active 9 hours rajas, and the rest of the 6-7 hours you spend in tamas. Now, when we are performing action, the inevitable consequences of being influenced by rajas. Rajas is, as you understand, is actions driven on the selfish desires. The actions become naturally, they bind you to the action. Rajasic action also produces mental agitations. It also, you develop a tag of expectation to the fruits of your actions. It also sets a wrong relationship with the world. It develops an egoistic notion of our doings and our actions, and so on and so forth. These are all the expressions of getting into a rajasic mode of action, which is driven on selfish desires. So what we have to achieve is to inject as much of sattva into the action. I hope you are following. When we are in the course of action, which is rajas, our actions are driven primarily because of desires which are selfish, which develop expectations, which develop bondage, attachments. You have a wrong relationship with the world. It produces friction. It causes mental agitations. You develop an arrogating notion, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of complications when one gets into action. To ensure that you are liberated from all these consequences or persecutions of action, we need to inject sattva into action. Now, how do you inject sattva into action? You must understand what we are trying to do. Unless and until you inject sattva into action, you will be caught up in the sphere of rajas and its consequences. So when we say you maintain rajas during the course of the day, when we say you maintain action, obviously we're not suggesting that you stoop down to performing actions of selfish, egoistic nature. You're trying to divinize your actions. Divinizing your actions is to inject sattva into your action. Now my question is, where do you inject sattva? How do you inject sattva into your action? I repeat the question, how do you inject sattva into your action? if you don't inject, you are a materialistic person. I will not give permission to Sethuramanji because he prompted me to clarify this because he had a series of communication with me just a short while ago. And I hope I answered him. So maybe he has got a little edge over all of you. Last, I'll come to Sethuji, if others don't answer. I hope you don't mind, Sethuji. All right. So how do you inject sattva into rajas? Vaidyanathanji. Could you please unmute yourself, sir?
Yeah, by not being concerned about the fruits of the action. Whatever action you're doing, if you're not concerned or worried about the fruits of the action and dedicated to the Lord, then your focus is more on doing the task for the task rather than anything related to self. Nothing gained out of that. It is being done totally anonymously, and you're doing it out of the, because that's what you are, rather than what you're going to get out of it. And that is a very sattvic approach to doing any action.
Correct. Yes, this is sattva. But how is it possible for us to actually walk the talk? See, many of us would be able to intellectualize or appreciate or conceive an idea. But when we plunge into action, many a times the sheer momentum of our actions, we fall into a prey of attachment or ego or anxiety or expectations or whatever, isn't it? But how do you ensure that what you said trickles down into a way or a walk of life? I'm able to actually experience it.
The easiest way is when you say that, let thy will be done. So you are really not, you're only an instrument of the good action that has got to be done, rather than don't give priority, importance to you, and therefore your ego does not come up. And be a humble executor of the action that the divine has bestowed on you.
I hope it is as easy as you said, sir. I really hope. I really hope. Now, your logic is very apt. You're trying to convey what is sattva, but how does it reflect and change the course of my action? It's like a river is flowing. I need to change its course. You need to put in considerable effort to change its course, isn't it? That's what we are saying. How do you do it? In fact, the only way you do it, okay, should we ask more people? Reddy Garu, how would you change the course of your action?
Pranam Guruji. In my view, when we like to inject sattva actions into the rajasic mode of operations, I strongly believe that giving a more importance to the intellect than the mind is the one. Every action which we are going to do, how it is going to empathetic or outcome is going to be a more result oriented without impacting the real purpose of sattva and rajas, what we're talking about, without diminishing the ultimate purpose of the rajasic action which we are going to perform.
Correct.
The moment by moment, we need to keep revitalizing ourselves. That the balancing of act between, we need to do the rajasic actions. Is not that we can't avoid that, but bringing in sattva means or gunas into that is, as you rightly said, that is a real challenge, because that moment of a time we'll forget everything, we'll jump into the rajasic mode to get the things done out. But I think a lot of breaks need to be applied for us to moment it. Maybe not be possible on every moment, but at least on the critical decisions and critical areas where it is creating a larger interest, impact is going to take place. Maybe on a case to case, it can be applied. So that's what I feel.
Yes, you're very right. You're very right. You're absolutely right. In fact, what you're saying is it will only, you can only inject the sattva to the extent you have, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's say for discussion's sake, you have only 15% sattva in you. 70% or 60% is rajas. Now, if you want to, it's like, you're mixing two paints to bring about a common natural shade. You need to mix these two. But when something is overwhelmingly more and the other is only less, its influence will be very less, obviously, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So if you want sattva, which is only 10 to 15% to influence 60% of your rajasic personality, what should you constantly try and do? Ensure you live up to the task of enhancing and investing in sattva. When you keep increasing your sattva, that is when you will be able to invest sattva, inject sattva into your rajas. And to the extent sattva doesn't influence you, you and I will fall a prey to emotion, to desire, to expectation, to ego, to fluctuations, to agitations, stress. It is inevitable. We can't escape it. Therefore, it is important we get the proportion of the gunas. Very important. This balance, again, I come back to it. 8 hours of sattva, 9 hours of rajas, 7 hours of tamas. Essentially, you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The balance of it, how much of knowledge can you inject? How much of time can you invest in consolidating the wisdom? That's going to give you the change, the course of your action.
Is it, Guruji, is the number of hours defines the parameter, or the quality of the learnings we do it in that specific time makes a difference? Like my doubt here could be spending 8 hours on sattva, maybe 4 hours of good quality of understanding these gunas, so that are doing a less amount of rajasic one is also, if we go by the balancing of act of the timings are concerned. Because the actions, what we're doing, rajasic actions, is not on time based. It could be any moment, it's around 24/7. The actions could be that could be my doubt. Which in this, is it a time bound hours segregating? Is it practicable and possible?
See, it is time bound. It is also quality bound. So time bound is 4 to 6 a.m. cannot be replaced with any other time of the day. That auspicious hour, which we so commonly call it as the moment where you invoke the Brahman, the Brahma Muhurtam, it is that auspicious moment, cannot be replaced in the rest of the 22 hours of the day.
Okay.
So what you achieve at that hour is not achieved rest of the day. In fact, the masters go to the extent your true spiritual transformation happens between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Maybe too demanding, but that's what you got to pay the price.
Okay.
So you got, I will capitalize that early hour. But if you are tired and if you are not able to, then you have to seriously tweak your life. On and off, you may fall short of it, but more often than not, if you are available for that early hour, you'll distinctly know the difference. And rest of the day, you're trying to nurture those thoughts. If you have half an hour, 45 minutes between lunch and you're nothing doing, just pick up that book and try to read some thoughts and ideas. Again, you're reflecting, you see. You will sit half an hour in the puja. No doubt you are doing rituals, but again, you're mentally trying to remind yourself of the various aspects or facets of truth or religion. So in and out, you are able to devote as much time to begin with the quality hour of 4 to 6. Rest of the day is how much time can you take out? And action is a must, isn't it? We can't abandon action. We all need to be active. But active in different ways. Even that changes after a while. The nature of action starts changing. The quality of action starts changing. So it is quality first, and then also quantity. But you may say, I'm sitting for 6 hours or 8 hours, but I'm not getting up 4 a.m. I would say, rather get up for 2 hours. Doesn't matter. You don't do rest of the day. I will still accept you, but not at the cost of that early hour, 2 hours. Not at that cost. Okay.
Yeah, got the message.
Reddy Garu, many people are blessing me, so I need to move on.
Please.
Right, sir. But I hope that is clarified.
Yeah, absolutely clear, sir.
Right. Okay. Yes, Vaidyanathanji.
I want to share one change that I made, which reflects this bringing of sattva into in action. I go for a swim every day, and I swim for 1 hour. When I start the swim, it's a fairly challenge to keep going because it becomes very repetitive. So about 3 years back, I said, how to fix this problem? Then I said, when I'm swimming, I will start first with a prayer to Ganesha. Then with each lap, I am saying Vishnu Sahasranam. First Venkateswara Suprapadam. Then I'm doing Vishnu Sahasranamam. Then I do Aditya Hridayam. It completes 60, 65 minutes. I'm forgetting swimming completely. And I'm not bored. And my mind is on where I want it to be. So by accident, I kind of injected a very sattvic approach to a very mundane exercise that I was doing every day. And I still do that it helped me to get over that 1 hour and not get bored with swimming.
Sir, you don't mind if I can recommend your name for the Olympics swimming, sir? We are very short of that talent for the country, sir. Such a hidden talent is there, nobody knows, sir.
Well, kind of late for that today, but
no. Yeah, you're trying to inject that thought of the higher into a so-called mundane activity. Like other day we were mentioning, when you go for a walk,
right.
Every step of the way you keep saying, I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is that soul, the truth, the self. So every movement, every breath, every action, you convert it into worship, translate into worship, divinize it, which is what you're doing.
I found one more very good way is that you chant a mantra, like a Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, while driving. You are going to drive so peacefully, not get affected with others who are going to come in your way. Nothing will bother you if you keep chanting. And you can do that almost with every activity during your day, whether it is walking or while driving, while swimming. So that's where you can keep your mind anchored at one point and not get distracted.
Sir, I don't know rest of the day, but at least while driving, I need some tips. I will call you after the class, sir. I can't publicize my ignorance and my challenges. So it will be a personal consultation with you. No, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Annapurnama.
Namaste, Guruji.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I try to answer this, Guruji, to increase the sattva percentage, infuse sattva into the rajasic, actions? You had earlier explained a rajasic person cooks for himself and eats, and sattvic person eats the remnants of the fruits. So one thing is infusing sattva into rajas means desireless, but being happy in others' welfare and rejoice when others succeed, and that will be sattvic into rajas.
Yes, you are
Selfless
actually
service.
correct. So You are actually describing how you can actually combat the rajasic element, which is there is so much attachment to the fruit. A sattvic person eats the remnants of fruits. So you are directly trying to inject the thoughts how sattva can combat rajas. Yes, you're right. But these thoughts must be there strong enough to come and influence your action. And the only way these thoughts gain strength is only through reflection. See, mere information is not going to help you. What actually helps us is the contemplation, is a consolidation of these ideas. All right? You're absolutely right, Ma. Okay? Right. Gayatri Ma.
Guruji, one point which apart from what people have told is, I feel that when we put the others' welfare, when any action, when we are doing it throughout the day, when the thought comes that welfare of others is more important than my own, then probably as little hindrances and all, we don't feel it at all. Like, there is no stress or tension about it. So putting others' welfare first is more important for me.
Yes. No. What is more important for me?
Every individual, Guruji, that they have to put the others' welfare more than their own welfare.
Ama. So by saying others' welfare more important than me, you're putting me in front of others.
No.
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 Right. No. You're right. You're all describing aspects of sattva, but where I was looking at is the necessity to invest into sattva. That's when it'll trickle down. It'll translate into action. Okay. Siddharamji.
I find it a little difficult to inject this sattva notion into the action.
No. There is no injection and all. Everybody is paranoid of the injection now. So I can understand you getting about that, but use another word. Introduce sattva. If introduce comforts you, introduce.
We are in COVID times. Injection is possible.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough then.
That's the reason for this is the most commonly occurring word nowadays.
Yes.
Some actions led themselves to divinizing or setting a higher goal. Some action, for example, like Mr. Vaidyanathan mentioned, you're swimming, you can do chanting. You're walking, you do chanting. But certain actions, like for example, you're playing squash. It's a very active sport. Okay, you can't be thinking anything else except what you're doing at that point in time. So at that point in time, to think of sattva is a very, very difficult thing. You can't be doing that. Or for example, when you're studying, apart from the scriptures, if you're studying, you can't be doing that. Very difficult. So I feel the sattva thing can be done only for certain actions, but not for all. And as long as you keep this at the back of your mind, that okay, one must look at the higher self, etc. Maybe that's one step forward. Otherwise, I think it's extremely difficult to do it for everything that one does.
Sitaramji, you have asked the right question to a wrong person. I am into sport. My goal is to emulate you. I'm actually emulating you to reach at your level also to continue to play the sport with that vigor. But as you know, I go into the court almost every day and I play sports of badminton. And I've seen people, how they become so emotional over just a wrong call of a line, whether the shuttle falls inside or out. I've seen people having arguments on courts. They're friends, they have arguments. I've seen people breaking their rackets. It's an expensive 15,000, 20,000 racket. They've broken it on the court. They become emotional. And there are some people who play just for the passion that they have for the game, just enjoy it, just sweat it out. Doesn't matter winning or losing. You go and shake hands, and there are different kinds of people. So it's what attitude you bring to the same sport you play with your own friends and colleagues day in and day out. So it is, as you said, what is the objective with which you are taking to the sport? Is it to prove a point to someone that I'm better than you? Is it an egoistic competition? Or I know there are people who say, I just come there to let go of my stress.
Yeah.
Now, you are not even enjoying the game. You are doing it for other reasons. So there could be many an attitude situation you can bring into that sport. So, but end of the day, when a professional is playing, is a professional playing the sport to retain his spot for the next tournament? Or is he playing as an offering to bring reputation or win the game for my country? When he knows that if there are so many people knocking at his spot in a team game, is he trying to prove to the selectors that yes, I want to be selected? Is he playing for his name in the team, or is he playing for the team? It doesn't matter, I may be selected or not, but is his thought to gain recognition? Is his thought to get what do you call this? They have these endorsements and perks and rewards. Is it for that, or is he truly oblating his action as an offering to the nation? It's a very different ball game altogether. But for that, you need to have an attunement. So when you offer that same act of playing a sport for the nation, for a larger cause, then it is a divinizing the action. But if I'm using the action for a personal glory, for something in return for myself, then it is materialistic. Action being the same. So how can you inject that thought? How high or lofty is your thought? And that is determined by how grounded are you in sattva. For a sattvic person, helplessly, Hyavasha means helpless. A person who is sattvic helplessly speaks a language of sattvic state he's established. See, you're so anchored in your mother tongue. Helplessly, effortlessly you speak, isn't it? It could be Kannada, it could be Tamil, it could be Malayalam. You're so grounded in it. So if one gets grounded in sattva, you take the charm of sattva in every activity. That is important. So it is an attitude. It is that attunement which starts reflecting in everything that you do. So everything you do reminds you of the goal. It's not that only during the classes I'm talking sattva, rest of the time I'm tamasic and rajasic. Then it's no use, it's no sattva. Isn't it? Ramanji. He may say, sir, there's nothing else left to say, sir. Ellame solliyachi ippo solringa neenga. I know.
Yeah, one small point I thought you have answered it, but these days any activity I keep the higher purpose in motive. Say earlier in my foundation, I used to address every meeting and every press conference. Now I don't do it. I totally delegate. I am just in the back and let the credit go to the team. And every action, what I have seen is, as you have pointed out many times in the past, say I am an entrepreneur, my purpose should be to bring out a mass product at economical price, and so that the customers and all stakeholders and the employees are happy, not to enrich myself. Enrichment will be automatically a byproduct. So if that type of approach is there in every activity, I think it is a sort of an injection. But now I understand from you, unless you are grounded in sattva, you can't inject that. You won't have that higher purpose attitude. It won't come to you automatically.
Sir, talking the language of injection, the vaccine is the sattva, injection is rajas. The actual syringe. The syringe is rajas, the vaccine in the syringe is sattva. And that is going to immune you from all the negativity out there. Talking of injection, we will seal the example that way. Syringe is Redigaru. Syringe is sattva, the vaccine is sattva, syringe is rajas, vaccine is sattva, sir. don't ask me, is it co-vaccine or other vaccine? Don't ask me into all that now.
That you
Okay.
inject.
I'm sorry?
And that you inject it into yourself. The vaccine.
Enama?
And that vaccine you inject it into yourself to.
Avalda. That is what we're talking of injection. The more you inject it, the more you are immune to the impurities. Okay. Now, the technical term, just at the end of it, I just want to mention this technical term. A person who is Rajasic Rajas. Rajasic Rajas is known as a materialist. Because we should not be mistaken with the term Rajas. Rajas is also action. Rajas is also meant to be a person who is running behind the world. So the term Rajasic Rajas is known as a materialist. And the next step of Rajasic Rajas is Sattvic Rajas. Sattvic Rajas. So what you're doing is when you inject Sattva into Rajas, your actions become Sattvic Rajas. Rajas is predominant, but there's a flavor of Sattva. Are you all with me? Okay, let me put it in the order of hierarchy. The lowest is Tamas. Hariji, could you kindly capture it for me, please? Just keep putting Tamas hyphen so on. So the lowest is Tamas. Superior to Tamas is Rajasic Rajas. I don't want to burden you with technical thing, but just take a note what it's worth. You'll understand how it'll all blossom out. I'm giving you the whole picture of, this is the picture of spiritual evolution described with reference to the gunas. Okay, spiritual journey with reference to the gunas. And this is actually the stages you go through. So the lowest is Tamas. Superior to Tamas is Rajasic Rajas. Superior to Rajasic Rajas is Sattvic Rajas. Superior to Sattvic Rajas is Rajasic Sattva. Sattvic Rajas vis-a-vis Rajasic Sattva. Then comes pure Sattva. And lastly, what comes, Rajima? Where are you?
Trans Sattva, Guruji.
Rama. Trans Sattva. Enna Gayatri ma correct dane? Huh? No, the title we have given to Rajima is TS. We keep calling TS. That's the reason I asked her. She's a trans Sattvic state. She's very high level. She is. So whenever I see her in a TS, we'll call her. Correct? Huh? So trans Sattva is a state of realization. When you transcend the guna itself, you transcend the state of imperfection. You go beyond the gunas. Transcending the gunas is the state of realization. So the lowest is Tamas, Rajasic Rajas, then comes Sattvic Rajas. This is what we were talking. Rajasic Rajas is a materialist. Sattvic Rajas is a person who is performing karma, bhakti, jnanam. He is a spiritual person. He is active, but he's trying to enhance his sattva into everything. So he's performing karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. Where you're divinizing your action, you're divinizing your emotion, you're divinizing your thought. Karma, bhakti, jnanam. And when you do that sufficiently, you reach a state of Rajasic Sattva. And then comes pure Sattva, then trans Sattva. Srinivasrao garu, అర్థమవుతుందా సార్?
Namaskar, Guruji.
Namaskar. Seeing you for the first time today,
Yeah.
you might be wondering, what is this fellow talking all these things? None of it I know.
No.
Are you able to follow the
Yeah,
concept?
I'm trying to follow.
Right.
The volume is little low. I'm trying to.
My volume is low.
No. My laptop volume is low.
Okay.
I'm not having earphone. So
What a pity. What a pity.
anyway,
What a
I'm
pity.
following it.
Right. No, I know you are a lot of sort of straining I could feel. So I just thought to connect with you and say whether everything is comfortable with you. All right, sir. Good you could join us, but it could be at some sections can be very technical, but be rest assured, if you are with the subject, you will get hold of it. All right.
Yeah.
And if something is concerning you, please clarify. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Right. So move on. We'll take up verse 17. Yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshthasya karmasu yuktasvapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshthasya karmasu yuktasvapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. Ravindraji, if you could just bring the audience back. I think there's a question that Seturamanji has asked me. I just clarify him. I'll come back to the verse. I didn't see this clarification, sir. Now, the question you're asking is, can you differentiate between sattvic rajas and rajasic sattva? Now, the difference between sattvic rajas, the accent is more on rajas there, a little flavor of sattva. But in the state of rajasic sattva, the accent is more on a sattvic state, but with an element of rajas. So in sattvic rajas, sattva is being introduced into rajasic state. In rajasic sattva, rajas is fading out of sattva. I say this, I have never ever said these words. The first time I am hearing myself saying this. Thanks to the question you asked. That is the beauty this knowledge keeps revealing. I repeat, hopefully remember. Sattvic rajas is sattva is being injected or introduced into rajas. In rajasic sattva, rajas is fading out of sattva. Fading out to a point where after that is pure sattva. So from sattvic rajas to pure sattva, there is a stage in between. The in-between stage is, let's say your actions are 80%, 85, 90% sattvic, 10% rajasic. So when the percentage is 10% rajas and 90% sattva, it is rajasic sattva. When rajas is 80% and there's 20% sattva, it is sattvic rajas. Ushama, have you got the percentage right? Yes, Ushama,
Namaste, Guruji.
you got the percentage or the concept right?
Concept I got a little, but the percentages, I mean, it can be a little less or more like that, Guruji.
Yeah, I'm only giving you an arbitrary.
Yeah.
So what we said is, in Sattvic Rajas, you are trying to, if go back to the earlier description, I said, Sattvic Rajas is when you're trying to inject Sattva into Rajas. Didn't we say that?
Yes.
So when you're trying to inject Sattva into Rajas, the Sattva is low in proportion. Let's say 10 to 20% is Sattva. You're trying to enhance Sattva, but Rajas is predominant. But as you have done sufficiently, you come to the next step, which is Sattva has rise from 15, 20 to become 80, 90 Sattva. And as a result of which Rajas has become proportionately less. So it is 10, 15% of, or 10 to 20% of Rajas, 80 to 90% is Sattva. And then beyond that comes pure Sattvic state. So in other words, Siddharaman sir, Sattvic Rajas is a person who is doing his sadhana. Rajasic Sattva is a state, is a very highly spiritually evolved state. Perhaps a spiritual beginner is Sattvic Rajas. An evolved spiritual state, a sannyasi, is Rajasic Sattva. Then pure Sattva, that man is meditating. There's nothing else to do. He's just sitting by himself, all by himself, and he's just meditating. And then comes transported to self-realization, trans Sattva. Outstanding. If you know the language, if you understand what these men are conveying, it is just ecstasy. Is just ecstasy. And when you have taken to the path and you know what it is, you have seen the transformation in yourself, you know you are able to relate to this roadmap. If somebody is trying to describe, hey, have you taken that, what do you call that? What do you call that? Which rope cable car. It's like, hey, I have gone to Switzerland and I've taken that cable car right to the peak of that Alps. And the road which led up to that place, I have not been there, Chuma, I'm giving an example. And if somebody is describing that, and if you have been there, what is your reaction? Yeah, it is something you're able to relate to it, isn't it? It strikes a chord. Yeah, what a beautiful scenic drive it was, and it's just so ecstatic you are because you know what exactly, step by step. It is that kind of inner ecstasy you have because these men are giving the roadmap right up to realization. And if you have embarked on the journey, yes, I've gone through all that stage. I know where I am. I know what I need to do. I can relate to it exactly. These are not unfamiliar terms. It is exactly attuning to that experience. So that's why I said it's very thrilling when I mention of this, but sadly I can't translate that into words, but I'm trying my best. You got to forgive my inability to communicate. Okay. But all you can is you got to understand this and you will know it has a great relevance in your spiritual journey. All right. Okay. Hariji, sorry, I've been missing you. You raised your hand a couple of times. Is there anything to clarify, sir? You're good?
No, I have already given my question in the chat box.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay. There you go. Sorry, I missed that. And it's the same question, isn't it? Is it clarified, sir?
Yeah.
Clarified?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I know. I request you all, if you can just prompt me as well, because sometimes I do miss what is said in the chat and I wouldn't want to miss. So if you can raise your hand or if there's any way you can communicate, let me know because I don't want to miss anything. All right. So Ravindraji, could we have the slide back? Wonderful. So let's chant once again. So we just put that concept behind and move on to the next. Let's chant once together, please. Yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshthasya karmasu yuktasvapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. To him who is moderated in eating and recreation, moderated in action, who is moderated in sleeping and waking, yoga becomes the destroyer of sorrow. Yogo bhavati dukkhaha. The whole world is suffering with, what is the world suffering with? The entire world is experiencing. What is the entire world experiencing? If I can ask Sushma ma. Sushma ji, boliye ma. What do you think the entire world is experiencing? He says, destroyer of sorrow. What do you mean by that? Ma, could you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, is that,
Yeah.
you see, if we are not doing things in moderation, then we are bringing sorrow to ourselves, because whatever you overdo is not right for our body, whether it is even a thing like eating or even a drinking or anything. If you overeat, you're going to upset your stomach. If you're going out too much recreation, then your mind from spirituality is going to go off into the world, which, I mean, people, like, we are trying, all of us are trying, listening to your lessons. We are trying to get more towards spirituality. But if we lead a life of going out all the time, then naturally that will become a barrier for us. So whatever we do in moderation, that will help us to go towards spirituality and change us, go more towards sattva than towards rajasic and tamasic qualities.
See, yes, you're right. See, the language he's using is, he says, yogo bhavati dukkhaha. Dukkhaha is sorrow. He says yoga becomes destroyer of sorrow. So what is the world experiencing sorrow? What should we understand sorrow as? Anybody else? Yes, Hariji.
Worldly desire and attachment to the worldly objects.
Worldly desires and?
That is the sorrow. Whereas attachment.
Attachment. All right.
Whereas
In fact,
attachment to the higher leads us from sorrow to happiness.
Correct. So in fact, sorrow here means a mental state of, you can call it as insecurity, a mental state of restlessness, a mental state of agitation. This is a mental disease, sin, a mental disease. Everyone feels a certain amount of insecurity. Everyone feels a certain amount of mental remorse, which is committing a sin, mental agitation, a mental restlessness. And he says the solution to that is you have ensured the 3 R's are proportioned. the 3 R's. Life has 3 transactions of life. The 3 transactions of life are receipt, reaction, response. All the 3 has to be moderated. So you got to receipt of stimuli. The Sanskrit word for receipt is ahara. Yukta ahara. Vihara means recreation, which is referred to reaction. Responses is the karma. Yukta chestasya karmasu. So the 3 things the verse is saying is ahara, vihara, karma. So write down the 3 Sanskrit words, which means ahara is receipt of stimuli. Vihara means reaction with your mind and intellect. Karma is your actions with your responses, with your organs of action. So all the 3 has to be, you have to proportion your receipts, you have to control your reactions, you have to govern your responses. Padminima, 3 things. What do you say in Malayalam? What do you call understand? Manslaya, is it?
Manasilayo.
Manslayo.
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 I.
Manslayo.
Yes, I.
Okay, very good. So what you need to do? You need to proportion the receipts. You need to control your reactions. You need to govern your responses. 3 distinct measures to 3 distinct transactions of life.
Earlier, I had asked one question in the chat box. Where does patient come? Whether
That's
it is... so still I am not clear with that. It is...
Enge. Looks like the chat box is gone somewhere in the past.
No, where does that come? In which category? Like, is it sattva, rajas, or tamas? Patience means you are not responding to in some circumstances you are just keeping quiet, you are being patient. It can be good, or if you are withdrawing yourself because you don't want to create a situation or not to attract any more of chaos. So how do you classify that? It is a response, definitely. Patience is a response. It is not a stimulus that you get. It is a reaction to a stimulus. I'm doubtful on that. Is it sattva? Being patient means you don't talk, you don't react. So how will maybe you can avoid some disturbance, both for yourself as well as.
I'm just trying to practice little patience, Ma.
But I'm not getting an answer.
See, I could be silent and patient because I don't know the answer also. It could be ignorance also, no? Ilya, I'm silent because I'm ignorant.
No, that will show on the face. Your gestures.
No, I'm just trying to answer a question. I could be silent. I could be patient because I don't know. Let me not confuse you. One of the qualities of an evolved person, he says, is maunam. Maunam is you become not physically silent, but mentally silent. So you choose to be silent in an argument. in a debate or in a classroom, you choose to keep quiet. Speech, as rightly said, is one of the organs of action. Speech is one of the organs of action. So when you are restraining speech, when you're restraining speech, you are governing your responses back into the world. If I say this, this could be the consequence. Perhaps by refraining to say this, I'll be able to bring about a positive, create a positive environment. So you refrain from saying. So what you call this is known as, see, somebody in the classroom is covering up their face. I don't know who that is. Gayatri Ma, who is that Gayatri Ma? Tirlev, I can't recognize the face. Gayatri Ma, please, we don't know who that is. Parvala. See,
it's Rajma.
So see, we have got many titles here. We keep doing in the center is keep giving titles to people. No, I will not mention of this. But what, Padmini, you understand what we're saying here? So you're right. If you're trying to be patient or silent, or if you're trying to govern your responses back into the world, that means you are controlling your organs of action, which is your responses, which is speech. So you need to ensure the stimuli. If somebody is gossiping or demeaning someone or only talking negativity, no, I don't want to lend my ears. No, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Why are you coming and gossiping about somebody else to me? If somebody does that, you say, enough, I am not interested. You cut off the world. So the negative stimuli is out. So you must proportion what is going into you. So food to the body is at all levels of the senses, at the mind and intellect. Anything derogatory is not something which is going to help me. Any negative emotion is not going to help me. So I am not going to allow that into my system. I'll proportion it. I'm conscious of it. So stimuli, receipts, I'm conscious. Responses, I am well controlled. What is the kind of responses I entertain? Means how my thinking is, what feelings I entertain. If somebody does wrong to you, can you entertain an emotion of forgiveness than entertaining an emotion of competition and frustration? Can you forgive a person because he has done wrong to me? That is also an emotion. So what kind of emotions is reaction within you? And your responses are so well governed that it's the intellect that oversees your responses. And that is what he's saying. The three words, ahara, vihara, karma. In three words is conveyed the entire cycle of life. That is the depth in this one word. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu. Yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. So when you regulate the quantum of the waking and sleeping hours, and you discipline and regulate all the three aspects in the waking state. In the waking state, you are taking care of these three reactions, three aspects. You're also regulating the waking and sleeping hours. If you do all this, yoga truly becomes the destroyer of sorrow. You will have no insecurities, no mental imperfections. You have attained that pure state. So you got to put in the effort. At the same time, you got to have this regulation. So effort plus regulation equals spiritual progression. Okay. Effort plus regulation equals spiritual progression. Hariji, you were wanting to say something. Yes, sir.
No, I wanted to tell sometime patience can be due to tamas also, that we don't want to either either tamas or escapism, that when we don't, suppose I am not in a position to say no, though I very strongly feel no, and I try to avoid telling no to it's a sort of escapism to avoid unwanted conflict, which actually is not correct. I am trying to be untruthful to myself.
Right. Right.
Against my conscience. That I wanted to tell.
Right, sir. Now I have a practical case study we are going to do now. We'll have to invite Ramji onto the stage.
Using pure sattvic stage to invite with the rajasic stage, and yoga helps in destroying them.
Namaskar, Guruji.
Namaskar. Welcome to the stage, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Most of the time you are backstage, so
for the wrong reason you are calling me. But
no. How can I do that mistake? I can't do that mistake. So, Ning, can you explain the question, sir?
No, I mean, I asked this question to many people, but I didn't get a answer. So
now I am being tested now here.
No, I want to get the answer from you because I know that you know the answer.
Ayyo.
So
I will practice. No. Now I'll practice patience. Enormous patience I have till another 7 minutes. Now, Solomate, sir.
The greatest conflict we face in life is at home, most of the times, because we means, I don't mean just men, I mean women, more of women actually. The women, the husband and wife are at different stages of spiritual development, which happens very frequently, and they may be at different levels of growth, evolution of their thinking, and then various things. It can happen in any family.
Yeah.
So how do we bring peace in that relationship? How do we bring the entire family to one level of spiritual development?
See, it is a very pertinent question. Putting aside compartmentalizing a husband or wife into any specific category, as you rightly said. See, the onus is on the person who's evolved to set the tone, to uplift others to their, rather he or she cannot expect others to rise to their level. Rather, they should go down to the level where others are and resonate with them. See, many a time it's you're expecting others to raise to a certain standard you have pitched in within you because you are able to appreciate it. Let's say X is disciplined and Y is indisciplined. You can constantly complain that Y is being indisciplined. But if X can come down to the level and motivate, and not only he or she rises, but lift the entire family along with you. And that is the onus of a true leader. A role of a leader is, no doubt he is positioned at a certain place, but he has to inspire the team to rise to his level as well. We are able to play that role in organizations where we are relatively less involved, we are more objective. But when it comes to our own family, it's because of emotions and all that attachments. We are not able to play that objective role and say, yes, I am also a leader. To set the tone, to set the right values without any anxiety, without any expectation, without any attachment. If I'm as objective to my family as any third person out there. It's very difficult though, but the only way is you to go down to their level and inspire them rather than expecting them to rise to one's level. In that sense, it can settle the anxieties in the mind. So that's why I wanted to clarify, what does this sorrow mean? Sorrow is not just a state where you're mourning or you're suffering. It is a state of mental ill health. To have a certain anxiety also is the same state of mental sorrow, an unhealthy state. So again, I'm repeating, it's not to expect others to raise to your level. You go down to their level and motivate them from where they are. So there has to, and one of the qualities is you're able to harmonize with others. One of the qualities of a devotee of God, sir, I mean it in the context, it said there in 35 qualities of a devotee of God, he says, you must learn a devotee of God harmonizes with others. Because a devotee is said to be a man of emotion, isn't it? I am a devotee of God. I pray to the Lord. If I have devotion to God, if I have love for God, how can I have no love for his creatures, his creation? And it starts with my own family, where I have to have utmost love and compassion and kindness and forgiveness. So if there is, and if that capacity to accommodate them in my own heart is there, I'm able to accommodate their shortcomings as well and accept and forgive them. So, and because of my capacity to accommodate and forgive them, I'm able to harmonize with them. And the moment you harmonize with the world reciprocates, and he says the world harmonizes with you. So these are the two qualities he mentions in the 35 qualities of a devotee of God. And it's so apt because it all deals with emotion. So if we are able to bring in these elements, again, all of this, you were there from the beginning, all of this is nothing but reflection of sattva into rajas. If one injects these higher values into our life, it starts resonating in every facet or every role we play. As a leader, how can I resonate myself with the team? Am I being acceptable by the team? As a leader, it's important. The best of people may be rejected by societies. Best of them have been rejected, have been discarded, best of them have been crucified, have been poisoned or shot point blank. We're not talking of an overall acceptance, but still, you wouldn't cause anything to hurt another person. It's very easy for me to act in a way to hurt another person, isn't it, sir? How long does it take for one to say something in a wrong tone to hurt another person's feelings or emotion? How long does it take, sir? But if I have got a grip over my speech, which is an organs of action, as I just answered Padminima, speech is organs of action. If I'm able to bring an austerity into my speech, I wouldn't hurt other sentiments. They may be imperfect, but what about my perfection then? So a lot is on the onus of the person who is at a higher, so-called higher state, to able to inspire and lead them, allure them. In fact, I think Oliver Goldsmith says it's like a bird, the mother bird, which allures its little ones, its offsprings to the brighter worlds, he says, allures them to the brighter worlds. So if you ever seen this documentary, sir, it is a mother bird. When the mother knows the chick is ready to fly, when the mother comes with the food, it comes not, when the chick is just little one, it comes to the nest and starts feeding it into its mouth. As a chick has grown and it has the strength to fly, it will come with the food and sit in the neighboring branch next to the nest. So the chick has to take that little step out of the nest to fly, to come to the branch and take that food, and eats and quickly goes back. As it says, the mother bird tries to allure little ones into the brighter worlds. Oliver Goldsmith says, a true leader has to allure the lower people into the brighter world, and you become that inspiration, that role model to play. And it has to happen, and it will happen only if that wisdom percolates in every action of ours, then we are a role model. Then to that extent, as we often say, you need two palms to produce sound. If one palm doesn't, there can't be any friction. There is no resistance. So to a large extent, if one doesn't present any resistance to the world by harmonizing with the world, to that extent, you are yogic. You are practicing yoga. To that extent, there will be no sorrow. This is my humble attempt of what the Shastras are saying, sir. I hope it resonates.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Guruji.
Most
I
welcome,
think
sir.
it is a wonderful explanation. Yeah.
Thank you. Hari. Yes, Hariji.
Guruji, in the relationship between two persons, who decides? I may say I am Sattvic, and the other person, I may say the other person is Rajasic. But who decides that I am Sattvic or Rajasic? If,
One who is one who is more silent is Sattvic. One who makes too much noise is Rajasic.
I can be very silent, but internally, externally I can be very silent, but internally I can be very aggressive. I need not express myself.
Now, don't qualify my answer.
No.
Try to read. When I say patient or quiet, I intend to mean externally and internally.
Okay.
There's no point me trying to be externally spiritual, internally sensual. I'm a hypocrite then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm externally maunam, internally frustrated. I remember in the ashram days, we used to have every Friday, we will fast dinner. And next morning also, I don't think the following, there are two different events. One day in a week, from morning 4 o'clock till 1 o'clock, there's Maunam in the ashram. So even the prayer, right from Brahma Muhurtam, early morning prayer, or to the prayer with food or during the course of the day, unless in a classroom you have to ask a question to the Guru, most of the time everybody is silent. You're supposed to be. And the silence breaks at 1 o'clock. You must see the frustration release after 1 o'clock. As if you have been released from the prison after 10 years. How you will celebrate? Like that, people will celebrate. So that Maunam is not arising out of wisdom. It is because of imposition. It is trying to tell you to observe your own thoughts, observe your own inner expressions, rather than all the time blah 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 blah, making too much noise. Just calm down. Shanti, shanti. So it is not an external thing. So if in two people, who is sattva and rajas, a person who is sattvic is more measured, is less impulsive. A person who is rajasic obviously is full of impulsiveness. And a third person, it's very easy for a third person to know. If you have an ounce of buddhi, you will know when to keep quiet. If not, you will trigger, you will disturb all the dust, and then you will face the music. So why to do all that? Just calm down. Understand others' vasanas are expressing. And let it express, no? That is sattva. You come to acceptance and let things happen. All right. But if you are sitting in debate over someone that I am more sattvic than you, then that is guaranteed you are not sattvic.
Yeah.
If you are sitting, I am coming and debating with you and saying, I am more sattvic than you, that is a guarantee that I am less sattvic than you. So you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You just be what you are. Okay, sir. Namaskar. We'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.